more and more I'm convinced that ADHD is the human phenotype that kept our species alive, whereas what we call neurotypical are the mentally ill ones, as they make life way more complicated than it needs to be. First, I'll discuss how these behaviors weren't really a problem for people living 20, 30,000 years ago, and then I'll talk about why some of these traits are superpowers in those times. Here's the Google AI result. Nobody can really argue with this list, so it's fine. But I want to start with disorganization, right? Like doom piles. There's more possessions in the frame of this video than an early human would have had across their entire lifetime. You could get a box of Lego, and own more things by having a box of Lego, have more individual items than an early human would have. There's nothing to lose. There's no piles to go through. Everything is there. It's in front of you. It's not necessarily tiny, pocketable at best, right? And none of these things are difficult to replace, have administrative burden. You lose your sharp stick, you make another one. Next goes into forgetfulness, and it's like remembering daily tasks or important events. Like, an early human didn't have a schedule, like ish. Maybe in the morning they would go on a hunt, or forage for new food. When it's hot, maybe they would do activities in shelter, right? Building things. But they're not like dealing with multiple conflicting schedules between work and school and healthcare and their family schedules, and none of that. Life was super simple. Like, what is there to forget? It wouldn't have been a factor. Academic underachievement. I mean, that's designed for a very specific kind of person, and it's not the ADHD people. Plenty of us do very well in academic settings. Like, I could go on, but it's clearer than ever to me that the things that are a problem now are because a lot of people created a world that creates problems for people. And this world is created by people that don't understand how to simplify lives, their own lives, other people's lives, or they don't care to. So how is it a benefit? Hyperactivity and impulsivity. We view that as like being unable to sit still as somebody decides they can talk to you for an hour and hold your time and prevent you from being productive, right? But in a survival-oriented lifestyle, being restless motivates you to go find things, go find water, food, medicinal plants, materials to build with. Impulsivity is simply just the kick in the pants to get you going, right? That's I mean, maybe it's a little bit more primal, a little bit more animal, but that impulsivity, that boredom that you have, it influences you to move. And those two together are great because that's where all the out-of-the-box thinking comes from. Those are the guys that think to sharpen sticks and attach fire to the end of them to bring the light with you because they're bored, and it's weird to the other ones. Sleep issues is on there. Again, that's a problem, but modern life has destroyed the way humans sleep. Humans naturally get left to their own devices will actually have 2 periods of sleep in a night, with a period of wakefulness from an hour to 2 hours in the dark of night, where they would undergo activities like reading and snacking and having sex. But anyway, you do want that variety in sleep capability. You want the people that'll doze off and stay asleep forever because they're going to be well rested when they wake up. And you need the people that are very antsy and are going to wake up at the slightest noise. So when a predator comes around or a storm is heard, somebody's doing something about it. Trouble with relationships is another, but relationships are troublesome because they interact with these complex systems: social media, work, school, responsibilities, religion. All these things make life way more complicated than it was. And I think most neurodivergents are with me, and they don't want all that drama, that complication. from my perspective, it's problematic that you would care for these petty things. I really like Hyper's assessment of this, where psychology is filtered through the lens of the ideology of their nation. In the US, that's capitalism. And ADHD is very, very often tied to incompatibility with school and work needs and culture, which are themselves very artificial structures that are not designed by people who care to make them efficient. That being said, life unfortunately has been made complicated by other types of people, and don't feel bad if you need therapy and medication to deal with that, because your brain is meant for a much more primal era of humanity. But honestly, the best part of getting help, if you can do it, is that you can adapt just the same to the professional world, but it doesn't take away your gifts. Anyway, Moose Rant.